I was raised to only see the good in humanity. This assumption almost killed me. After leaving my native country, I found myself hitchhiking across the United States. I'll admit, this wasn't a well-planned adventure, and I found myself in San Francisco with a clear dilemma. Keep the last few dollars I had, or find a place to sleep. Fortunately for me, I found an empty dumpster to stay in for a few days. My luck would soon change when I got a job as a delivery man for Mr. Smiles Ice Cream. My route was Watts County. I knew little of the area other than the race riots of the 1960s. My first day was going great. The banana split was a very popular item in this area. Matter of fact, it's the only thing I was selling that day. About midway through my shift, I ran out of bananas and stopped at a liquor store to pick up more. The only problem, when I came back, the truck was gone. I called my job to inform them that the truck had been stolen. Mr. Smiles was not happy, to say the least. Since that would be the end of my workday, I decided to hitchhike back to town. After about 30 minutes of walking, a car pulls up alongside me and offers me a ride. I gladly hop in and tell the driver where I'm headed. He doesn't really acknowledge me, but he does pull off in that direction. I notice immediately this guy is off, and he smells awful. He starts to mumble something about Israel and Palestine. I start to grow increasingly uncomfortable. At this point, I just ask him to pull over and let me out. He still doesn't acknowledge me, but he slowly pulls over. As I go to get out, he pulls out a rope and starts to strangle me. He has the rope around my neck, but I manage to get a few fingers underneath. I think that's the only thing that kept me from passing out. At this point, I'm fighting for my life. I manage to turn around and kick him in the nuts. As he's crouched over in pain, I stumble out of the car and onto the ground. The creepy guy dashes off, and I'm left there on the side of the road, narrowly escaping who knows what. A few minutes later, I was able to flag down a police officer and tell him about what had just happened to me. To my horror, the police informed me that the area had 3 serial killers on the loose at that time. The officers took my statement and set off to catch my assailant. It was the last time I talked to the police about this encounter. Left stranded, I decided to hitchhike back home. I know, not the smartest idea considering what I had just gone through, but at the time I had no choice. From that point on, I definitely screened potential drivers a lot more. And that encounter would be my only dangerous encounter from strangers on my journey across the US. 10 days later, I'm reading the paper and find the guy who given me that ride was caught by police. That guy would be serial killer William Bonin, also known as the Freeway Killer. He was later convicted of killing 14 people. Years later, I'm haunted by the events that took place on the highway that day. But I'm also grateful to be alive and miles away.